right, any questions?
Well, I have more a remark than a question for now. I think you were all convinced by the necessity and the amazing results we have. And the 75K we put in our funding objectives are to fund only the second year of this study. And I really hope that you not only participate to it, but you help us fundraise to be able to do this second year. And just do, I don't know, barbecue at your home or poker night or whatever, but please help us with this 75K.
A question for Megan. So couldn't present any results today. I understand it's still going on. When do you guys predict you'll have results that you can share?
So we're hoping within the next probably 2 or 3 months. We have a number of, I think next week we have a couple people coming in. And so I think it's just trying to get everybody scheduled for their 12-month visit. I think once we hit that 25 or 24 out of 25 mark, we can start analysis.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would actually ask a similar question for the Casimir study. So I think I just did the 6-month one. And so there's a little ways to go, but is there any thought into revising it and extending it for another year, doing like a phase 2?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that where we are right now, we're scoring those out based on the scorecards that we developed for Duchenne. And in doing so, I'm the primary scorer. And in doing so, I'm kind of making notes as we go through on how those criterion that we looked at, how those are similar or different across VCP. And so I think the next step would be to kind of compile those, meet again with Nathan and Allison, and see what next steps are if we do want to proceed with development or whatever that looks like.
My question is also for you, Amber. When you are scoring the videos, how many people actually score the videos? Do you have a team of people that compare videos for each person, and then you kind of compile the data at the end, or how does that work?
Yeah, so in Duchenne, we recommend that we have 3 raters. And so we have like a physical therapy rating certification program that they go through. It's pretty detailed where they go line by line. We watch videos together, we talk through them, explain them, and then they have a certification test that they complete to show proficiency. They have to score 80% or higher to be a central rater for us, and then they have to recertify every year. So it's a little bit different. We haven't gotten that far with VCP, but I think that would be kind of the model we would use.
I have a question for Dr. Mozaffar. Do you think it would be possible to get blood samples from patients in Europe? Because now we have a certain amount here in the US, but since you want to reach 80 samples, which is a challenge, did you see a way that those patients in Europe could give blood and be transported here, but they wouldn't be able to participate to all the others?
So, I mean, one of the things that we are exploring, and we've done this for the Limb-Girdle Muscular Dystrophy Network, where there are sites in Newcastle and Copenhagen as well, is that if the NIH would allow us, and one of the arguments would be that this is such a rare disease that you really can't reach the patient sample without having participation from European countries, we would like to at least have 1 or 2 European sites. So Newcastle is already participating because of the MRI expertise. Maybe if we can include Newcastle and Paris or Newcastle and Copenhagen, which are the big established centers, that may be one way of doing it. The problem comes down to NIH funding. NIH doesn't like to spend money outside the US, but ideally I'd like to include Canada, ideally I'd like to include the UK or Europe. So that's something that, again, we are open to suggestion. That's where maybe there may be some kind of a partnership where we get additional funding from some other source, whether it's the European source or some other source.
That would be fantastic. Yeah.
All right, any additional questions? Yeah.
This one's for Amber. Would it ever be helpful for a patient to maybe suggest some tasks that are difficult that used to be okay that I notice huge changes in? Just, maybe it's just me or maybe it's other patients that have that you might want to add to your assessment?
That's something that we do in Duchenne. We call it new ability. We also have a task called caregiver choice. I don't recall, Nathan, if we did caregiver choice for this study.
Yeah, I was going to comment. Really, what we did was we had the menu of the DVOAs, and we just selected which ones we thought were most applicable to VCP. I think the exception being we added one or two. It may have been the sock off the floor,
Sock off the floor was new. Yeah.
which I can't show my video. But yeah, that was one of them. But yes, I mean, we gave a lot of input. I think they'd be open to that. But to answer Todd's question, we went with the economy model with Casimir because of budget. So I think Amber's the only, to answer your question, Amy, is the only one grading it. We've actually, because it took us longer to enroll, we thought we would get 20, 25 at a drop of a hat because we had so many people doing the nationwide study, but it took us longer. And so that's changed kind of the scope with Casimir. We still have an evaluation we need to do on the costs. So in terms of extending the study, it goes through 12 months. Would love to extend the study, but we've got some things to work through on that. So I think we need to let Amber do her work in terms of the evaluation of those measures. I think there'll be some insights that come out of that. But yes, all these studies I want to continue.
So with that, let's say as a patient, I know going downstairs is difficult for me, and that's been the biggest change for me. Would it be beneficial for patients that if they have an activity that they notice, that they do a lot, and they notice there's a really significant change, for them to make their own videos so that in the future this is helpful for somebody? I don't know who would answer that.
I think absolutely. I mean, I think that we've seen that just kind of before we had the standardized process, the videos made a massive impact with FDA and with insurance companies. And I think it can also, guide us toward what tasks we should be looking at in the future. We're also studying this model in another rare disease, PMM. One of the things they told us was that some lady said drying her hair was the hardest thing. That was not something we would have even considered. So I think, for future iterations of the tool, it makes sense to take a look at that, what's impactful to families and to participants.
I'll just add, sorry. In Dr. Mozaffar's study, in the nationwide study, video is a critical, the FDA is coming around on video. I think they're highlighting the importance, they see the importance of video. I mean, Nationwide has recorded, all our sessions. I think video will be a very important part of Tahseen's study. So, I think a lot of the videos Amber showed, those were just parents recording it. But I think the methodology you've learned from them in terms of the rigor, in terms of how to space it out, and that's important because you have to be able to compare and contrast. So you should do your video studies. That's part of the reason I wanted to show my video, because it's very impactful in terms of these are things that in future clinical trials, this is the evidence. This is, if a drug's working or not, and you can see a change. I mean, that video. So I would recommend that for everybody anyway, and hopefully we've kind of trained and taught and learned through Casimir how to do it right.
I think it's important. So especially in a multi-center study where you have different sites, different therapists doing it, I think having a video recording, it's very helpful to make sure that everyone's doing it the right way. It should sort of come from a compliance point of view as well as a reliability point of view. So that's becoming the new trend. I mean, I know, for instance, for the Jane Foundation study, every single one of the assessment is recorded. Even for the LGMD network study, we are recording the physical therapist doing the assessment because we want to make sure that everyone's doing it the right way and the same way.
Thank you.
Let Dr. Ghoshal ask the question.
So
Yeah, just a few comments. So one is in terms of kind of the compliance issue you're mentioning, Dr. Mozaffar, like, so we do that for our neurocognitive testing as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of just a standard QC to have it as backup for auditing, what have you, but also for training materials. So it's kind of at least another adjacent field, kind of the work order workflow there. Then I was going to speak a little bit more during my talk as well, but I'll give you a teaser, since teasers are coming to fruition, about other networks they can tap into. So I know you're seeking funding for your own network, and you have your IBM one and experience with limb-girdle dystrophy as well. But we have partners across the pond in the FTD space who are at major academic centers as well, who have the imaging piece, the biofluids piece, admittedly not the muscle expertise perhaps, or at least not that I'm aware of off the top of my head, but maybe in the time that you're trying to set up, obtain the funding, and as you said, there have been challenges with that, understandably, that we might be able to tap into some of these other networks that are already in existence, and I'll speak to that more.
So no, and I agree with you. And actually, as part of our planning meeting, we have been talking about including FTD assessments for various reasons. One, it's important and we really need to be done, but it also adds the NIMDS angle because NIMS, which is the institute we're going to go for, doesn't unfortunately have that much money, right? So if we include NIMDS, and there have been recent examples where NIMS and NIMDS collaborated to fund a study, I think we can increase the amount of funding. If we have a European partner, one of the things I was going to say is Muscular Dystrophy Association, which still has not recognized VCP as a muscular dystrophy, but it's very important because that is an important source of funding. We can always do a secondary grant through the MDA to help it. And they've been very open about adding to the funding part. Myositis Association, which actually, if you look at the history, was created by somebody with a VCP mutation. Even though it's called the Myositis Association, her diagnosis was not correct, but she had VCP mutation. So again, those are opportunities, and I would love to. I mean, I think we probably should have a offline talk.
Agreed.
Because I would love to incorporate some FTD. I mean, the problem is you don't want to make it too unfocused. Right now, it's very much a muscle grant, but I would love to include FTD. And Ahmed Sajadi, I think you may have met him. Yeah. We'd love to include some of the FTD stuff there as well.
Happy to chat more, and also about existing networks already funded that can participate and supplement what you're doing right now.
Sure.
Yeah, so Amber did a great job of showing a lot of Duchenne videos. For those that aren't familiar with the Casimir study that might be new to seeing it, this is one of the Casimir videos. This is a disaster, but go ahead.
Go.
All right, not pretty, but again, in a trial, or just the data of understanding the disease, very impactful. And so again, it's why it's really imperative that everybody, if you can and you're able, participate. So.
I just wanted to make, I was just reminded, but I just wanted to say that in the nod of getting more interest from both the pharmaceutical companies and from the medical community, I just wanted to share that the work that we've done together, we are having 2 international conferences, and we're presenting at both of them, one in Italy in September and one in Halifax in October. So we're doing it. And Vancouver in December, yep. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much.